So when it comes to relationships, there seems to be a lot of stereotypes that stick around. And one of those stereotypes is this idea of women saying I'm fine when they're not. Sometimes you see it in memes or in movies, on videos. So in this video, I want to break down why women say I'm fine when they're not, understanding what is truly happening beneath the surface. And then I want to break down what you can do to respond to this specific situation. So the first thing I want to say is that even though this is something that's commonly shared online or spoken about between people, this is not just a woman thing. Despite what it may feel or what the media wants to tell us, people saying I'm fine or don't worry about it or nothing's wrong, this is a human being thing. So it is not gender specific, despite whatever gender or sex or culture or creed or race or religion you are, there will always be some form of this phrase. But the fact is, the majority of my audience is men who are in straight relationships. So I'm going to talk about this from that perspective, that this is not necessarily a gendered thing. And if you look for it, you'll find variations of this throughout the entire human spectrum. So I get the confusion, especially as men. When a woman turns around and says, I'm fine, when they're clearly not, it can feel confusing. You just say what it is. What's the point? I can see that there's something wrong. You are pretty terrible at hiding that there's something wrong. So why not just say it? So I get the confusion and the worry and not quite knowing how to handle it. You know, a lot of people fall into the trap of pushing for answers or making accusations or trying to use logic in the situation, pointing out, hey, you're clearly not fine, so what's going on? But these are really big mistakes, which often makes things worse. So let's talk about some of the reasons why your partner, your wife, may say, I'm fine, when they're not feeling fine. The first reason is they're just not ready to talk. She may be not in a space to articulate her feelings yet. As human beings, we need time and space to process our feelings, to think about it. The next reason is that she could be wanting to avoid conflict, especially if there's been a history of arguments or defensiveness from you. Your partner may be trying to prevent an argument or a difficult emotional response from you. Another reason is this fear of invalidation. When we express ourselves, we as human beings want to hear validation. We want to hear that what we are feeling and thinking and doing is correct. She may be feeling fear that her feelings are going to be challenged, are going to be ignored, or just not taken seriously. Another reason is wanting to protect you. You know, sometimes when we feel something, but we don't want to say it out loud, it can come from a place of not wanting to put a burden of our worries, our fears, our emotions onto other people. Or it can come from a place of self-preservation. So saying I'm fine can be a form of wanting to protect ourselves when dealing with overwhelming feelings or difficult situations. And this is especially true when a relationship is going through a difficult patch or even broken up. Saying I'm fine when a relationship is mid-repair can come from a place of self-preservation. But one of the biggest reasons why people say I'm fine when they're not is believing that no one truly cares. Sometimes people say they're fine when they believe that the person that they're speaking to doesn't actually care, doesn't want to listen, or doesn't care about their well-being. You know, there's no point in expressing something if you think that someone doesn't give a shit. But the underlying thread through all of these reasons is about what we call emotional safety. So emotional safety is the environment to express your feelings, your desires, etc. Being able to express this without negative consequences. So when emotional safety is there, this means that your partner feels like she can share thoughts or feelings without being judged, dismissed, or attacked. But when emotional safety is damaged, people shut down. So if your girlfriend, wife, partner says, I'm fine, this can be a signal of damaged emotional safety. This is hiding that pain, that frustration, that disappointment instead of addressing it. When emotions get buried, resentment builds. And this resentment ends up eroding trust, intimacy, and ultimately the ability to get through this difficult situation as a team. Emotional safety is crucial. And saying I'm fine is a big red flag that you should be looking at and reflecting on whether emotional safety is truly there or whether it's been damaged. So what do we do? How do we respond in this situation? I mentioned earlier on some of the mistakes that people fall into when trying to respond to a partner saying she's fine. What can we do? The very first step is to observe your partner's behavior. Sometimes when we say I'm fine, it's because we're actually fine. That is the very first thing to understand. So observe your partner's behavior and take a look whether the response is, oh, I'm fine. Or is it said angrily or dismissive? Or is it said a different way? Sometimes people are fine, and it's important to acknowledge that. Just because your partner says I'm fine doesn't mean that they are necessarily hiding something, or she's lying, or she's doing something untoward. The first step is to observe and take in whether she is genuinely fine and you misinterpreted her emotions, or is she saying that because she doesn't feel safe to express herself right now? The next step is to not assume character. Don't assume that she's saying I'm fine because of some deep-seated character flaw. This is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when we fall for what we call the actor-observer bias. The actor-observer bias is when we look at our behavior and justify it by the environment around. For example, I say I'm fine because I'm worried that she'll shout at me, because I'm tired, because I'm stressed, because I don't want to get into an argument. That's why I say I'm fine. But when it comes to others' behaviors, we blame their character. Oh, she's saying I'm fine because she's a liar, because she's manipulative, because she's a narcissist, because she's borderline personality, whatever it is. When we fall for this actor-observer bias, we justify our own behavior by looking at the environment, but we criticize others' behavior by blaming their character. Getting over this actor-observer bias means not assuming character, assuming that just like you, the behavior is because of the environment. Once you start to think of the context around her situation, whether it's your own behaviors, whether it's stress at work, whether it's situations that she's experienced, looking at the environment rather than character is going to be way more helpful in helping to build this emotional safety. The next step is to pause your own defenses. If your partner says, I'm fine, to resist the urge to argue or to prove them wrong. Your job in any relationship is to create the space and give your partner the autonomy to be able to step into that space themselves, not to pull them into that space. Resisting the urge to call them names, to force them, to give them an ultimatum. If you don't tell me what's wrong, then I'm going to walk out, or I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Making sure that you're pausing your defenses so that you're able to create this emotional safety and this space rather than force them into it. Next, it's important to signal curiosity and care. Try a soft, non-demanding approach. For example, hey, I hear you saying that you're fine, but for me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like something may be off. Maybe you are not comfortable telling me. I'm here to understand and make sure you're okay. Perhaps we can talk when you're ready. In this way, coming from a place of curiosity and care rather than accusations and control, this way you start to slowly build this emotional safety within the relationship. Next, it's important to acknowledge your role. If you know that you've reacted poorly in the past, make sure you own it. This is one of the most crucial steps to building emotional safety. I've done much deeper dive videos on some of the more subtle, toxic ways that we can act in conversations and how it damages emotional safety. I'll link to the video up above and in the description down below if you want to dig deeper into that. But knowing how you may have damaged emotional safety in the past is crucial to be able to start to take ownership and focus on building an emotionally safe environment. For example, I realize that sometimes that I can get pretty defensive, and I think that maybe it makes it harder for you to open up. And I really want to learn some better tools in order to do better. I'm not forcing you to open up right now. I just want to leave my door open if you do want to chat. Then it's important to follow through. Follow through in creating a calm, emotionally safe space and setting for you and your partner. Big conversations should happen when you're both regulated, making sure that you're creating that environment for your partner to be able to step into that space. If you are emotionally het up, forcing that conversation is only going to damage more emotional safety. So learning how to manage your own emotions and how to communicate well, practice validation. Validation is one of the most critical tools that you can learn. Learning how to validate and reflect what you're hearing helps to open up your partner. And you can start doing this today. Learning how to repeat back what you hear in order to show that you're understanding. As your partner does start to open up, being able to reflect back and say something along the lines of, hey, I think what I'm hearing is that I've really not created a good environment for you to be able to open up. Am I understanding that right? This way, you're able to validate your partner's feelings and show an understanding of what she's saying. And this doesn't mean that she's going to open up right away, but it's crucial to take these steps and to continue to be consistent with it in order to create that positive, emotionally safe environment. And this brings me on to my next step, which is to rebuild consistency. It's vital that you set your expectations not on the short term, but on the long term. So don't expect 1, 2, 3 conversations to help your partner feel safe. Trust and emotional safety are built through consistency over time. Show over time that you can handle your partner's feelings without judgment, without defensiveness, without invalidating them. Trust isn't rebuilt with one conversation, but by many, many small moments of safety. And this is one of the things that all of my members have found, is that emotional safety and the trust of relationship built through many, many small moments, not one big giant conversation. This is why I work with members long term, because there is no one conversation to have or one script in order to rebuild emotional safety. It takes time, learning the right skills and the right effort in order to rebuild it long term. And this is especially true if you're trying to repair a relationship or win your ex-partner back. Rebuilding this trust over time and opening up important conversations to be had is going to be really important for repairing that relationship and building the relationship to a healthy space moving forward. And if you do want to start that journey and you want to join me, then join my Relationship Bootcamp, where you'll get the same steps and the same tools that all of my members start with to start turning their relationships around. All you have to do is click on the link in the description if you want to join us. So rebuilding emotional safety is a process. As you start to rebuild this trust, it takes many conversations. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make in rebuilding this trust is trying to avoid conflict, trying to avoid arguments. But emotional safety requires some conflict in order to be able to progress. And it's really important to understand the difference between arguments and healthy conflict. I've done a much deeper dive video on that, which I'll link to up above and in the description down below. But learning to navigate conflict in a healthy way is going to help you to build this emotional safety over time and allow your partner to feel comfortable opening up instead of saying, I'm fine. So I'm going to leave you with that deeper dive video, and I'll see you over there.